I'm Andy Ely, Senior Funeral Director for G. Seller Independent Funeral Directors, and we've been serving bereaved families since 1910. I'm sure you're all well aware there's lots of different myths, taboos and misconceptions around what happens behind the scenes within the funeral profession. So we decided to put together this series of podcasts to answer those questions and hopefully dispel those myths. So please do like, share and subscribe, and send those questions, send them to liftingthelid@gseller.co.uk, and we will do our absolute best to answer them for you. It genuinely is our family caring for your family. Welcome to the latest episode of Lifting the Lid. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple, I highly recommend you flick across to our website or YouTube because we have something slightly different. We have a set, we have props. Today I'm joined with Simon Oakes of Lynn Oakes, and we're talking about funeral uniform. Simon, welcome.
Yeah, hi Andy.
How are you?
Yeah, good. Nice to meet you.
And you, thank you for coming.
We'll see you again, should I?
Yeah. So, Simon, just a bit of background about yourself. Talk to me about Lynn Oakes, your role within Lynn Oakes. What is Lynn Oakes?
Lynn Oakes is a business we've been going for 40 odd years now. My father started. My father started then. We were tailors.
Yep.
We do a lot of work in the hotel sector, which is great. Actually, it's a great crossover for great ideas for the funeral business. And but because we were originally tailors, started in 1876.
Wow. Okay.
And we had strong connections with my trade. Both my grandfather owned a funeral business. My ex-wife owned a funeral business. My son's a funeral director, and we actually owned a funeral director at one point as well. So
okay.
We've had a long, strong connection with all of our very traditional tailoring products, and we've just been going for so long. We've got very, very old patterns. The item behind you is a double-breasted frock coat, and the rear of it, if you'd like to switch it round,
I'll have a go.
Is a riding style with a very, very long vent, which people used to put on horses.
Right, okay.
So if you turn it back again. And it's double-breasted frock coat. So that's a Victorian style coat, which was really the forerunner of when people started doing funerals, and it first became a commercial business in the 19th century. So that sort of started it all off, and we still do those today, actually. And I love doing those. I have to say they're my favourite. To me, they're a proper funeral director's coat.
Absolutely.
As worn by G. Silico.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're a single-breasted version, but certainly Joseph's father, David, and his father before him, who my father was friendly with and knew and did work for, wore that coat, which, as I say, it's a Victorian-style frock coat. That's what it's known as. Fantastic, with a double-breasted lapel, set-in facings, and I love them. I still think they look great. You see a guy well-dressed in those, they look absolutely amazing. Yeah, you can wear them as well with a wing collar if you wish.
Yep.
But just in a good traditional with a collar and tie, it looks as good as anything. Especially with the G. Silico.
Oh yeah,
absolutely amazing.
The unique one. We'll come on to that.
Absolutely.
Perfect. You touched there on Victorian, historical. I mean, there must be a historical development. Any sort of foundations? Where does this come from? Why do we wear the uniform that we wear?
Well, obviously black is synonymous with death and mourning. I think more than death, and just that little bit of hint of burgundy which you wear is a nice corporate twist. But it came around really, as I say, when it first became commercial in the Victorian times, and then obviously it was a thrust through the Edwardian era with top hats like you wear and things like Petersham trails off the back.
Okay.
And some people still wear that. I was down in Bridport in Dorset yesterday, in Yeovil, in Somerset, and they're the guys who still wear the Victorian trails off the back of the hat. So there are still very much vestiges of the Victorian era about the funeral trade. There have been numerous attempts to try and modernise it, but I think it almost goes hand in hand with a coffin shape, which is a Victorian design, and so on and so forth. So there's still very much of Victorian tradition about the funeral industry generally.
Spot on.
We've got all the old sort of patterns that go back donkey's years to make those garments, and not many people do. So we're very, very much specialists in funeral tradition. from Linux perspective.
So the significance of wearing a uniform within the funeral setting,
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
I think just with the commercialisation of the business, really, but just trying to portray their own image, like you have as a company.
Yeah, okay.
And Joseph's developed from just the very traditional, which was a black jacket or morning coat, as sellers used to wear. They still do wear. You still wear a morning coat now, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, for the guys and the girls as well, and then it sort of developed on from that morning dress. And the whole industry is sort of based around that, really.
So it's really interesting. We keep touching on our uniform, the G-Seller uniform.
Of course.
So how much input would a funeral director have into, say, the design, the look and feel of their uniform?
Well, you can. Every firm's different, and every firm wants to make itself different and have its own image. Some people have gone really over the top and gone to green and blue and things like that. But you don't need to do that. I think black is very uncontroversial in the sense that it's very traditional and synonymous with mourning. So we still do mostly black, quite a bit of grey, but mostly black, a little bit of blue, a little bit of green, as I say, and where people have a bit of variation. And Joseph's design, really, or the G-Seller design, has been burgundy, which has always been traditional with the business.
Absolutely.
And burgundy works very well with black, so it's a good mix. It adds a bit of colour, but nothing too over the top. Just a bit of sedate, a bit of respect, and it just sort of keeps that respect at the forefront of the business.
So I think it's really, really important. The amount of uniform that we actually have, and there is a little show reel of me changing incredibly quickly into all the different elements and different uniforms that I have for the different roles that I perform. And we've got some samples of those here. So just talking about making it personal, making it bespoke, I'm going to point out, I'm actually going to come and grab one. So, this one. So this is the seller's check. So this design is specifically woven for us, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We weave this fabric. If you can see on the camera there that there's a burgundy cross check in that. That's a very, very traditional fabric known as a Prince of Wales check, because it was worn by the Prince of Wales in the 19th century, and he was a very dapper dresser, and even the king now, or who was obviously previously until very recently the Prince of Wales, he wore that Prince of Wales check a lot. You see him in a summer setting, he often wears his grey. You just look at it, and then you can see the hidden square in it.
Right,
it's a Prince of Wales check, and Joseph was very keen to develop the uniform that David had introduced, and he wanted to bring a traditional style. And it's nice because it's a real traditional twist of keeping that with instead of blue, having the burgundy sellers corporate colour in there, which is really good, and we love doing that. And I think from speaking to your staff and Joseph and the family, they're very, very happy to have that, and we're very, very pleased with it, I think.
So we've got lots of swatches here as well, of different styles, pinstripes, different patterns. I think in there somewhere there's the sort of more traditional.
Yeah, I mean that was a traditional stripe which is still very, very widely worn. And we actually do that now with burgundy as well, but in it actually, yeah. But yours is different. That's unique to G-Seller Co, and no one else is going to have that. Yeah, because we've said that to Joseph that we wouldn't sell that to anybody else. So there we go. It makes you totally unique.
Totally unique. Yeah. So I mean the different samples of uniform that we've got there, we've kind of broken it down into different types. So there's for cremated remains an overcoat. There's call out attire, so a traditional mourning suit, and then we've got the ceremonial, so the funeral bearers that we have on a service, they wear a different uniform to the person conducting the funeral, but it all kind of looks the same, all works together. The burgundy velvet just adds a little bit of touch of keeping the burgundy theme that goes through with your tie, with your handkerchief, and with the square. This is the office attire that I have here. So in society, the expectation around funeral directors wearing a uniform, what are your thoughts? Is there a high expectation? Is it? It's
just professionalism, isn't it, really? Yeah. As I say, we do blue, we do green, we do other bits and pieces, grey, quite a bit. But as long as you have a corporate look that ties in your corporate colour and represents what you do, and which is nice to keep the black, because the black, as I say, just keeps that element of mourning in. And also as well, as people are dressing down in society a bit more, I think just that collar and tie on the day, mark of respect to the deceased, to the family, is a good thing. And it just keeps it, you know, somber. Not, you don't want too somber, but it just keeps it respectful.
Do you think this will evolve? Do you think this is, I mean, what does the future look like? Do you think it'll change?
Well, look, there have been people who have tried to change it, going to lighter greys to blue, I suppose, to a certain extent. But you can change it, but how far is respectful? You know, if you stop to grey, grey's a colour of somberness, of respect. Same with black. It's just there and then. And I personally still think that you should keep that level. You know, it distinguishes you from the mourners. Okay, mourners these days, they'll come in T-shirts, they'll come in, you know, most of them still wear black T-shirts, but they're football shirts, all sorts of stuff, you know, pinks and greys and greens and whatever. But I still think myself that bit of respect on the day, you know, just for the ceremonial purposes, you can be as dressed down as you wish on a day-to-day basis. You know, some firms I go to now wear polo shirts, others wear open neck shirts, collar. The girls, obviously, it's more difficult to have neck attire, but you've got to keep a semblance of respectability, I think, about it, because the funeral is a respectful thing. You know, you respect someone, even if you're celebrating mum or celebrating dad or your uncle or whatever. There should still be that element of respect there.
Absolutely. From a practical element, I quite often get family members say to me, "Aren't you hot?" Because obviously there's a lot of layers there. From your perspective, the design of these uniforms, is that a factor that's taken into the equation?
Well, you can go lightweight and to keep the heat down.
So you've got options, okay?
Yeah, and I think now when people are certainly in the collection of the deceased, the removal aspect, they tend not to wear jackets and trousers and things as much. But I still think, you know, people wear polo shirts and things like that, and you see someone in a pair of cargo pants removing your dad, it becomes an element of, you know, disposal then, doesn't it? There's no respect there. You know, it is nice when people turn up and they're nicely dressed to collect your mum at a very respectful time, or your father. You know, I've recently lost my mother, you know, and the funeral director turned up in proper attire, collar and tie.
Absolutely.
Just looked after that person properly, showed the respect to the deceased, to the family, to the person. And I still think that's a really important element. I think just to go all dressed down, all the rest of them is actually, is that what you really want? You know, respect, and he actually says to me that G. Sellico is a decent, respectful company when they turn up and they're wearing proper attire.
Absolutely. So I can assure you, we've got our attire, proper mourning wear. It's about the respectful piece.
Absolutely.
Treat everyone as you know, they should be treated.
Absolutely. Quite right. Respect.
Absolutely.
Is the word. Key word. Respect.
We'd like to just pause and take a moment to mention our partner for this podcast, Obitus. Obitus take a customer-first approach and are dedicated to giving families more ways to say goodbye. By working closely with venues and funeral directors like myself across the UK, Obitus ensures that the funeral service is personalised and reflects the life lived. From high-quality music and on-screen tributes to seamless streaming and keepsakes to cherish forever, Obitus adds a personal touch, giving families the freedom to honour their loved ones in their own unique way. You can find out more at www.obitus.com/LTL.
So is there anything else you want to show us here? So we've got the top hat, we've got gloves, we've got all sorts of different elements of the uniform.
Yeah, well, you've got a bit of an interesting element with it. Obviously, people tend to have either canes or gloves because it gives you something to do if you're paging, gives you something to do with your hand.
Absolutely,
at that critical point.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're going to be worn when it's a bit of a filthy day, which hopefully no one has for their beloved's funeral. But and then with the top hat, we added a burgundy band and a burgundy bow just to tie in the corporate colours.
Yeah.
Make it just a little bit different. And the top hat again, it's very much a Victorian thing, but it also gives the funeral director a form of focus. And you can hold it, you can wear it, you can. Obviously, and obviously for the girls, for the lady FDs, that you've got 2 or 3 in the business, haven't you? So they can wear their hat at the same time. and still show that respect of a woman with a hat in church, which is
Yeah.
very, very nice to see.
Yeah.
They obviously don't take theirs off where you would take yours
Gentlemen
off.
would, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
but you
we don't actually wear them as such, but
Okay.
what you're saying about, I used to use a cane. I kind of use it as a bit of a comfort blanket, really. It puts
Yeah.
me into the mindset that I'm looking after a family, I'm conducting. So I think it's a really important piece.
Well, and also as well, of course, it says to the person around, if you're wearing, who's the funeral director? Oh, it's the guy over there with the top
With
hat.
the top hat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And particularly with the girls, because it's more difficult with the girls actually, because when they're wearing their uniforms, girls wear a lot more black. In day-to-day society, as a fashion item, they often wear, girls will often wear black. So making that lady FD different for the mourner is often different. The top hat often does that. So people can look to the lady. Oh, she's the lady in the top hat.
Yeah, that's the person
Absolutely, absolutely.
leading proceedings, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Back to the table. So we've got lots of swatches,
Yep.
lots of bits. The manufacturing process. What is the manufacturing process? Is it an off-the-shelf item? Is it completely bespoke? Who makes them?
Well, certainly for yourself, it's bespoke.
Absolutely.
So everything's made for G Seller Co. And we make it all in the UK, English fabrics as much as we possibly can. A little bit in Portugal, but mostly in Europe.
Okay.
Mostly in Britain, should I say? All British fabrics. British worsteds are the best, still. The Italian fabrics are nice and fine, great for lightweight, but we're not like that. Just look at the shocking weather we've had recently.
Yeah.
You need something that's going to look if you're on a service and you're in a service for 2 or 3 hours, which can easily happen at times, and from start to finish, you need to be looking good when you're getting out of the vehicles or showing people around the cemetery or doing whatever you're doing, as much as you do. So, weight is important. The crease resistibility is important. So the manufacturer starts really when Joseph would say to me, Simon, let's do something a bit different, like your Prince of Wales check trousers in particular. So then we have the design stage, we have the pattern cutting stage.
So is that those there? The pattern?
These are patterns here. I bought some patterns that we to cut. Actually, those are a size 46 waist for a big boy like me.
Okay, a bit too big for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we cut the trouser. There's a trouser pattern, believe it or not.
Okay.
And there's two halves to that, as you can imagine, and then a centre part.
Okay.
And Amy, if you take this way, thank you. And then manufacture. We've got 28 members of staff currently. It changes a little bit depending on the season.
Yeah.
And we can fully make, and we do fully make the items from start to finish. I can do that myself, but
Okay.
I haven't done it for years, and the hands are getting a bit of
Not quite
hands are
dexterous,
getting a bit of arthritis in there these days. We make them all fully bespoke for yourself, so you have everything made to your design, your specification, and we do that right the way through the process.
Team fully trained to do this?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Lots of experience, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got 3 other guys on the road. We have an agent in Ireland.
Yeah.
So we go all over the British Isles, in Scandinavia, Australia, as well, North America, the Caribbean. So we go all over the place, but we don't often fly to the Caribbean, which is a bit of a shame. Barbados. Sadly, we send them over there, but yeah, no, everything's made, and British make really important. I mean, because we've still got the best tailors, we still know what we're doing. It's not lightweight, as I said to you earlier on. It's that's really important element. And then all of the overcoating fabrics are made to withstand our weather.
Yeah.
And because it's very unusual, actually, our business the funeral business in what you do, in the sense that, unlike most people who are working wear corporate wear, work wear, when they're doing a job, maybe digging a hole or working a camera or something, and they want to have an image, or in a hotel. But you're actually wearing a suit to work in, which is very, very unusual. Not many people actually work in their suit these days.
No,
I wear a suit to try and look pretty.
Yep.
Do my best. It doesn't always work.
I'm not commenting.
Yeah, no comment. But most people, like yourself, you're actually physically working in it. When you're doing it, you're lifting, you're shouldering, you're bearing, you're doing all certain elements. You're looking after people. You're actually working in your suit. Most people don't work in a suit. You might look pretty in it, go on the front desk of a hotel, or a porter in a hotel, something like that. But you're actually physically working in it. That's quite unusual. So you have to keep that in mind. So our patterns that you use are cut to allow that, to give you
give the freedom. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
To give you the allowance. So when you're shouldering, you're actually moving into an unusual position. So our allowances on our shoulders on our jackets are more than you would normally have.
Properly considered for our
Absolutely, they're probably considered for funeral business. So, and things like, which is where we're unique and we understand the patterns. When you've got people with their overcoats, particularly, an overcoat is going to go over the top because it's got to keep you wet, it's got to keep you dry, it's got to keep you warm at a critical point in a service when you're going out to do a burial. You need to be kept dry and in a decent shape. And so all those things are, and it has the element of you're actually working it, you're lifting, you're shouldering, you're bearing, you're moving. So all that has to be taken into consideration when we're doing it. So you're not just looking pretty, so don't want anything too tight and too skinny. You need to be able to work in what you're doing. So our patterns allow for that.
Brilliant. Simon, thank you. I have to admit, with all these swatches that you've brought along, I didn't realise there were so many options. So that's
thousands of options, really. That's just a little variation of the Prince of Wales. There's 2 different ones alone there, which you have in your trousers.
Absolutely.
It's totally and utterly different. The whole trade is, from start to finish, it is a process, and it can take some time.
Simon, thank you.
Okay, Andy.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for the journey.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, thank you as well. I hope you enjoyed that with all the props. Please do like, share, subscribe. If you've got any questions, send them to liftingthelid@gseller.co.uk, and we'll see you next time.